Aloha, y'all. It is Tuesday, ruled by Tier, the 22nd of December, and it is according to the galactic calendar, uh, which is based off of Mayan dream spell. Yellow galactic star guided by free will. It is an Ajna day, or third eye day, so we'll be doing third eye chakra chants. Om is the chant, and also the mudras, which are the hand positions. I believe it's that for third eye. Could be wrong. Double check. Um, so get in on that magic, and you will be better for it. I promise you that. So it's the day after the solstice, day after the grand conjunction, so it's still in the air. The sun is in Capricorn. We're in Cap season. Aries, Moon, Mercury Cap, Venus in Sag, Mars in Aries, Jupiter in Aquarius are conjunct in Aquarius. Uranus is in Taurus, retrograde. Neptune in Pisces, and Pluto in Capricorn with the North Node in Gemini. Let's go ahead and pull a card for cards, I should say, for the day. So we got a lot of, Mercury and Sun in Capricorn, and then Venus, Mars, and Moon are in Aries and Sagittarius. So it's like a lot of fiery earth, like volcanic almost. I've got the Libra card, Major Arcana Justice. So, Justice is as follows. Justice, the principle of consequences. You reap what you sow. I'm learning this one very much. Reclaiming your power, taking an honest inventory of your life, acknowledging both your successes and your defeats. Justice, I reap what I sow. I choose to walk the path of truth. Justice invites us to consider that we are powerful orchestrators of our lives, and all your thoughts, feelings, and actions have led you to the place you find yourself in right now. It brings to light the principle of, quote, consequences, the effects resulting from your actions. Are you reaping what you have sowed? In the card, a figure of a woman stands upright, strong, wild, unapologetic. A universal figure of mixed origins, she stands holding a brain in one hand, a heart in the other, portraying the balance of head and heart, thought and feeling. The world around her is teeming with life force, seething with nature, wild and mesmerizing. This card calls you to consider a balance of head and heart, which is very much the head, in a sense, Capricorn, Sun, Moon, Heart, Aries. It's not exactly that, but you see like fire and earth, head and heart, in a weird way. Head and heart, thought and feeling. The world around her is teeming with life force, seething with nature, wild and mesmerizing. This card calls you to consider a balance of head and heart, logic and intuition, getting things done versus emotional connection and well-being. To live well, to work well, we need both. A dynamic interplay and feedback between the two, helping us to be efficient and effective and appreciative and purposeful. After all, emotion is much more powerful driver of human behavior than reason and logic alone. And this is on page 44, balance of the scales, 4 on each side. Justice asks you to take an honest inventory of your life, acknowledging your successes and defeats. You are the judge and juror because only you know in your heart of hearts if you acted fairly towards yourself and others. If not, perhaps now is the time to regain integrity and make amends. Renewed power, autonomy, and freedom are revealed when we take full responsibility and give up making others wrong, life wrong. Stop blaming others. We're exactly where we need to be, and it's our karma. Remember, the finger of blame points one finger forward and 3 back towards ourselves. In blaming others and life itself for our circumstances, we miss the opportunity, the lesson, the teaching, to take back the power we have given away. We miss deliberating on the actions that could catalyze an amazing new lease of life and play the victim instead, stuck in suffering. Personal justice, then, is what you know is right, balanced in both head and heart. It calls you to powerfully question what you, quote, know at the deepest level is unjust. There are times in life when you must stand up for what is right for you, your own truth, and times when you must stand up for those who have no one to help them receive justice. This card is a great questioner, seeking out the truth and refusing to accept things that don't work or cause suffering and discomfort. It is the reclaiming of power from things which have been taken against your will or without your knowledge. It asks you bluntly, what do you actually stand for? What are you willing to take a stand for? We live in a society and abide by rules and regulations we may not always agree with, but have to navigate for fear of the consequences. There are grave injustices in the world, escalating inequalities and marked polarities, especially in countries vulnerable to despots and warfare. While so many feel powerless in the face of their oppressors, the justice system in a democracy is designed to maintain order and bring balance, stability, and harmony to its people, despite contrasting ideas about what is fair and equitable. The court of law recognizes that there are fundamental, inalienable rights that a person is entitled to simply because they are a human being. Here, justice calls you to recognize your personal opinion of justice within the mundane world may be filled with contradictions, and yet, despite this, you must rise up and be guided by the spiritual. Each action tips the balance either towards love or suffering, good or evil, right or wrong. Justice, the principles of consequence. You reap what you sow, reclaiming your power and taking on an honest inventory of your life, acknowledging both successes and defeats. I think right now we're being called into a lot of sovereignty, reclaiming our power. I mean, I just read that Fauci is saying, "Oh, this new strain is maybe already in the U.S." It's just more fear porn to cause us to give away our power, to be told how we should be. Maybe there's some truth in it, but it's not what I would call just, in a way. And we're having to, what principles do we live and stand by? Do you just, if the weatherman says it's going to rain, do you believe him? Weathermen are not always right. So actually, in fact, they're usually wrong. So don't just listen to the talking heads on the news and take that as gospel. You have to balance that kind of stuff, that information, with the head and heart, and find what's true for you. That's what you're going to be judged on by yourself ultimately at the end of your life. Where you're like, was I just giving away my power past a point, needlessly, or was I holding on to my power and not helping others? There's kind of a balance here. The crone, we have number 7 as the clarifier. So the crone. Oh, I passed it by 1. Wait, what? Oh, it's 6. Okay, that's why. The crone. This is very Capricorn, Sun, and Mercury. Kind of like, it is what it is. Deal with it. And Aries moon's like, I do what I fucking want. Feminine power, fearlessness, authenticity, individuality, independence, new purpose, freedom, shadow self. Key phrases: the woman who understands her true nature. And that, like I was saying in justice, knowing you're good and bad. Like not just saying, I'm all love and light, or not just being like, I'm miserable and I'm not forgivable. Be aware of your choices. You reap what you sow. Justice card. Be unafraid to walk your path alone. This integrity I was talking about. A life of your own design, untapped power and potential, a fertile and productive future, a childless state. Be unbowed and unapologetic. Respect and cherish your elders. A direct and forthright approach is needed. Do what's necessary, not what's expected. And it is time to be fierce and fight back. Very Aries, Moon, Mars and Aries. Venus and Sagittarius. And also the Moon and, the Sun and Mercury and Capricorn is very tenacious. The crone symbolizes a proud and mature woman, an aging woman who is no longer influenced by a need to reproduce her parental responsibilities. She may be approaching or have reached a stage in her life where her menstrual cycles have slowed or ceased, but she's no longer true to the crone archetype of old that is often depicted by Western society. The nature of the crone has evolved with the times. She is the wise woman who is like nature, wild, still, passionate, volatile, calm, peaceful, adaptable and flowing, creative and powerful. A lot of paradoxes being represented there. She is everything she chooses to be. She is a woman who is aware of her choices and may well have transitioned from her maiden to crone without feeling any need or desire to be a mother. The crone is unafraid of being alone or walking her own path. After centuries, that's just for her, right? She's like, I will do what I need to do for me, and I don't, as long as it's true, it's true. After centuries of being made an outcast and no longer being seen as having a functional role within society because her childbearing days are over, the crone has learned to look after her own needs. She has, by necessity, become a strong and independent individual who has found new purpose. Her life is full, has meaning and direction, and it is a life of her own design. The crone is comfortable in her own skin and free of artifice and pretense. She is mature, honest, aware, and wise. She is both understanding and compassionate balance. It's not one or the other, or one over the other. But speaks and acts with a directness that some may find intimidating. Very much Mercury and Sun and Capricorn, Moon and Aries. The crone can be quick to hug and offer support, but she can also be blunt and is unafraid to deliver a tough love message if she feels it's needed. At times, this can give her the appearance of cruelty and ruthlessness, but while the crone is not a hard woman, she can be tough and unwilling to embrace other people's illusions. This is why some will always be very quick to vilify the crone. She could be depicted as cruel, hard, wicked, and selfish hag, and the very fact that she is both unrepentant and unwilling to be what society expects her to be may make her a target for those who are slaves to society's dictates, as well as those who impose society's dictates. So this taps on the Moon and Mars and Aries, which is like, I do what I want. But the crone is also very gentle and kind. She's loving, supportive, and nurturing. Every face she wears is her true face, but the face she wears will be the one that she feels is needed at the time. It's just. It's appropriate for the situation. She is who she needs to be when she needs to be. This is why the crone is often portrayed as a woman who's past her prime, wrinkled and ugly. If she is made to believe that she is useless, she can be controlled. If the crone becomes aware of her potential and power, she is the force to be reckoned with. The crone symbolizes the emergence of a mature woman who sees herself as being in her prime, with many fertile, productive, and creative years ahead of her. She is a woman who embraces her true power and potential. The crone in the present position represents a woman or man of any age whose focus has shifted beyond the role of parenthood. I don't think I'm going to have kids. I don't think Haley wants to have kids, right? So it's like, this is very appropriate for where I'm at. The crone might be a woman whose menstrual cycles have ceased, but the crone might also be a woman or a man who could reproduce if they chose to, but who has instead made a conscious and deliberate choice not to have or bear children, and instead focus on a career or personal interests. That's the just thing to do in their mind. It is time for outdated perceptions to change. That is Aquarius, Jupiter, and Saturn. The crone is not just a woman of a particular age, but a woman or a man of a particular state of mind and being who has a high level of awareness and maturity, who may feel no inclination to have or raise children. Women and men now have more choice available to them. Neither gender has to have a partner or children in order to feel fulfilled or complete. The time has long passed since it was necessary for humanity to reproduce in order to preserve or increase the numbers within a tribe. Our tribes have gone far beyond this. In fact, some would say that it is a wiser person who chooses not to reproduce because they think of the planet and its dwindling resources and not of themselves. Crone by choice or crone by gender or nature, the crone is a person who is not influenced by the reproductive urges or the issues younger women and men in our society face. They see beyond the body image, gender, sexuality, age, tribe, and family and societal expectations. The crone symbolizes a wise and mature person who chooses to be free and independent. They create a life and make their choices based upon their needs and desires, not the needs and desires of the family, partner, children, or society. Though we want to keep this in balance at some level. Don't just think of yourself only. They are also unbowed and unapologetic. Whether they choose to be partnered with another single or childless, or a grandparent who says no to babysitting duties because they have something else they would rather be doing, they do not believe that their choices are selfish. The shadow of that is narcissism, so be careful. Crone types are just as capable of selflessness as any other, but they do often have different priorities to those who have or want children. When the crone appears in the present, she represents freedom of choice and freedom to be. You only have one life to live, so it is important to live it, and that means putting your priorities first. In a way, it's like, don't just, balance. It's like, you reap what you sow, so don't just do any, learn from your mistakes, and don't just, like, constantly be like, well, I want to be a meth head, so I'm going to be a meth head. It's like, okay. Make sure you're putting your healthy priorities first, I should probably say. You do not have to embrace traditions and beliefs that are archaic and restrictive. South Node and Sagittarius. We're not about that anymore. We're leaving and moving to new ideas of what it means to be a human and a man or a woman at all. Gemini North Node. You do not have to do as you're told or what is expected of you. You do not have to allow others to determine your future or decide whether you have a purpose. Do not allow age, your appearance, gender, or your sexuality to become something that others use to define, restrict, or limit you. You are what you choose to be. And ultimately, that is what the Justice card was saying. It's like, make a list of the positive and negative traits and figure out what your justice is for you. Some people are like, oh my gosh, I have to know all this knowledge. And some people are like, I have to have these relationships. Everybody's alchemy is going to look different. And the crone is giving us the permission, I guess you could say, to be tenaciously independent. Just make sure you're doing it with compassion for self and others, not just rebellion for the sake of rebellion. Because when you rebel for the sake of rebellion, that's coming from a wounded place. It's not coming from a whole place. So even though these cards are all awesome, I don't always agree with all the cards. So, not that I disagree with the card. You see my point, I think. So what we have is Melting Pot. Earth Timeline Future. So the Melting Pot. Number 75. Maybe a crone's age, right? Melting Pot. Future Timeline Earth. Unity from diversity is one of the most powerful evolutionary ideas for a species. Unity within diversity. Oh, that's this and this is that, and we're one thing together. Humanity is an amalgamation of many different ET species. It is a direct reflection of the galactic community. Once humankind begins to fully embrace those who are different and sees itself as one people, it will be ready to join the galactic community. This card reminds you that beyond race, gender, skin, color, and beliefs, all beings come from the same source. So it's like, yeah, be your sassy, independent self, but like give that same respect to others. Don't just be like, me, 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 me. It's like, yeah, let others be themselves too. And beyond skin, color, beliefs, gender, all these, identifiers in the world, quote unquote 3D, we come from the same unity. Humans must transcend the fear of those who are different and extend their hearts to all beings in order for this necessary evolutionary step to be activated. This card refers to Earth's future time stream in which integration has already happened. Integration of beliefs, races, religions, and any circumstances that would create the condition of other. In North Node of Gemini, that is inclusive, it's playful. It's not just like, you are not my tribe, I'll kill you. South Node Sag. It refers to the time stream in which the unity field of Earth is far stronger than the ego desire for insistent individual expression or separation. And it's ironic because I think it's both. Like, you are an ego individual who has to do what thou wilt, but at the same time, like, do what thou wilt in context and awareness that others are equally able to do what thou wilt. So you can't just be the victim of every, you know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? Hopefully. This is the future that awaits Earth. This does not mean that everyone becomes clones or zombies. It is a wonderful balance of unity within diversity, right? Unity, the scales are balanced within diversity. Two different kind of aspects, poles, realities. This is the future that awaits Earth. But in the meantime, our challenge is to look within our lives and see where we have fear of anything that is different than what we feel comfortable with in our reality. That's taking, Justice card, making a list and being like, what is happening? I'm responsible for all this. I'm allowing myself to be in certain situations, or I'm doing certain things that create these realities. Take accountability, right? If this card comes up in your reading, it could mean that you are still resisting a change in your beliefs or fears about something other in your life. Note, this also may be refer to pushing away a scary part of yourself that you don't want to embrace, like the crone. Like, it's embrace your crone. Conversely, the message may be acknowledging how well you've done with the process of integration in your life. On the level of ET energies, it could be referring to your many ET connections and how through time you have come to embrace all of the galactic energy influencing you. In order to ascertain what this card specifically means for you, let your intuition guide you and listen to its messages, even those you may not want to hear. Right? That's justice. It's not all about hearing, just hearing what we want to. Though there's a time for that. Sometimes you're like, I'm tuning out what society wants. I'm doing my own thing. Right? We'll do it in a balanced way. What I want, what society wants. Balance. Ultimately, we're all one thing. The balance is in the unity. So it's like the division is an illusion, but we, in a divisive kind of, paradoxical reality, we have to be independent and strong while being compassionate, just, open, all these other things. I know it's hard being human, especially being a woke human. It's so easy, really, but we've complicated it by attaching so much to beliefs and habits of the heart and mind that do not serve us in the long run. They're kind of like momentary lessons, if you want to put it that way. Fierceness, Wolverine. This is going very much with the fierceness of the crone, right? With all this Mars energy, Moon, Mars in Aries, Venus in Sagittarius, and the tenacity and fierceness of the Capricorn, Sun, and Mercury to climb the hill and, get up there and do it. So, we got number 5. Johnny 5 is alive. Wolverine. Fierceness. We should develop a sense of healthy fierceness. That's the point. Fierce without, be fierce, but be balanced. Right? Because we're all one thing, experiencing yourself differently. Have compassion. Right now, do not shy away from things that confront you, but choose carefully how you act. You can be fierce, but not angry. Loyalty is important right now. Mythos. Vidar was a younger son of Odin and the giantess Gridr. Vidar's half-brothers were Thor and Loki. His land was described in the Edda as a place of brushwood and tall grasses, and it is said that his companion animal was Wolverine, which was fierce, strong, and secretive. Vidar was considered to be a god of silence and called upon to uphold vows, especially vows of secrecy. He had magical shoes that made him strong, and they could take him anywhere. Vidar showed his determination and fierceness at the time of Ragnarok, the end of the world. Vidar is only one of a few gods to survive Ragnarok. Right? Capricorn, Sun, Mercury is like, I will survive. I will get through this. I will be fierce. Moon and Aries. It had been prophesied that the world would end with wolves eating the sun. The mighty wolf, Fenrir, had battled Odin, and the Allfather had fallen. Vidar saw his father fall, screamed for vengeance, very Mars and Moon and Aries, and set upon the wolf. He took off one of his shoes and placed it in the open jaw of Fenrir, keeping the wolf's jaws open and wide, and then plunged his sword again and again into the wolf's mouth, eventually killing him. Many of the mythos of the First Nations of the United States also feature the Wolverine mainly as a trickster figure. Animal. Wolverines live in remote Arctic forests and mountain environments, as isolated from humans as possible. They are an elusive creature found in Russia, Canada, and the United States, Baltic countries, China, and Mongolia. Female wolverines have snow dens and give birth to 2 or 3 kits. Their reproductive cycle is such that they can keep it in suspended growth, fertilized blastocysts if conditions are not supportive. Their natural enemy is the wolf, although they are much smaller than the average wolf. They are fierce hunters and will defend kills against raiding wolves and bears by relying on their sharp teeth and long claws. As they have large home ranges, they rely on conservation of their habitats. They can range hundreds of kilometers in one season. Wolverines are so secretive that scientists do not know presently how many there may be. But because their habitats are being destroyed and are encroached upon by humans and global warming pressures, they may be threatened. The magic. Wolverine magic is to be utilized when you need real will and determination. The crone. It's like, I will survive. I will do this. When you are against the odds and you need a bit of healthy fierceness to get things done, call on this animal's energy. Also, if you wish to have an energy witness to keep a vow or secret safely for you, Wolverine would be a great choice. Symbology is the shoe, long claws, shoe in the mouth of a wolf, tracks in snow, Wolverine claws, striped back, a man with a big shoe with a Wolverine. Status is near threatened. But it's kind of saying, you can bring balance. Just because there's a pack of wolves doesn't mean they take your food. Stand up for yourself. Do the right thing. Find justice. If you hunted and killed that thing, it's yours. Own it, right? But ultimately, the wolves, the badgers, the wolverine, the bears, all this stuff is a melting pot of nature, as we would say. So having fierceness, there's a time for that. There's a time, a time to reap, a time to sow, a time to fight, a time to peace. It's the balance, the karma, the justice of life itself. There's a time for everything. And so you have to be honest with yourself and be like, have I been raging war my whole life and now it's time for peace? Maybe that's the case. Or it's like, I've always been a pushover and I've always been peaceful, plant eater style. Maybe now it's time for me to use my claws. Only you know that. No one can decide that for you. So the art oracle we're getting is as follows. We've got Marcel Duchamp. He's like man in a Wolverine, whatever. He's like wearing a fur coat, it looks like. Looks like a little Wolverine. So anyway, not really, he doesn't look like a Wolverine, I guess, but you see my point. There's some animal fur resonance here. Marcel Duchamp, the granddaddy of Dada, the crone of Dada, the old man, right, in that sense. The precursor to pop, Marcel Duchamp wrote the fuzzy blueprint for conceptual art and gifted art history, the ready-made, a mass-produced object elevated to art status by the baptizing artist. An example is his famous fountain neo, common urinal. Wordplay and irony were God to Duchamp, who caused consternation early in his career with Nude Descending a Staircase No. 2, a mechanical painting of the eponymous action with nary a nude bit distinguishable. Recognition only found Duchamp in his twilight years, his crone years, but his posthumous legacy is still having a heyday. So the advice we're getting from Duchamp is making it look easy is hard. It takes a level of fierceness to stand up in the world and be yourself. The crone, like to be her boss-ass self, to bring justice, and not be oppressed and not just be like looked at as a woman who can't have kids anymore or whatever. That takes to make difficult things. Finding balance is very difficult. In a weird way, it's the natural state of things, and we're so unbalanced that it's very difficult. But we can make it look easy. What am I trying to say here? Making it look easy is hard. She's holding these things perfectly, and maybe this one's way heavier than that one, or vice versa, and she's got them equal. It's like she's making it look easy. Like, this is so easy, be balanced. It's like, that isn't as easy as it looks, but it's also paradoxically as easy as you want it to be. The crone is saying, I'm going to be my own boss-ass thing. Keep in mind that you're a melting pot, you're a character in an RPG, so it's not just about you. Though your character stats and your character destiny is different than everybody else's, you're still part of a game with others. Be fierce. Be fierce for your truth. Be fierce for your life to be heard, right? And making it look easy is hard. So it's like, try to do it with grace, but grace it's not easy. Graciousness is, more difficult than anger or just like reactionism. It's a lot easier to bite the hand that feeds you than to thank the hand that, that hurts you or whatever. Cavensite is the stone, so we can actually quantumly entangle with this puppy. What it is, Cavensite is a calcium vanadium silicate. Its name is an acronym. Look for it. It's in there. Cavensite, right? Calcium vanadium silicate. Its vivid color is next level electric blue. The best Cavensite hails from India. It's a go-to stone for those looking to channel messages from on high or explore the possibilities of supernatural communication. Very much Aquarius, Jupiter, and Saturn. It's like, do you want to build the antenna to talk to the aliens? Who needs it? Storytellers, soothsayers, healers, therapists, psychics. Where to put it? Wherever you translate inspiration into the written or spoken word. When to use it? When it's time to speak clearly and straight from the heart, right? The crone. It's like, I'm going to be fierce and I'm going to speak straight from the heart. For the sake of my expression in the Tao, I'm going to be fierce. I'm going to make it look easy, even though it's hard to speak from the heart, but it's the just and right thing to do in a balanced way. I should say harmonious, right? So, because harmony can look, you might be very mental, and like balancing means being more loving than mental, even though it's not exactly equal. So, when it's time to start, speak clearly and straight from the heart. When you want to get weird, ask Cavensite to make you a conduit for messages mysterious and eternal. Getting weird is Aquarius, Jupiter, Saturn conjunct. Expand your consciousness, right? And how do we write? Consciousness is not head and it's not heart. Emotions and knowledge is not consciousness. They're parts of consciousness, and we are more than that, right? Ultimately. So expanding her consciousness meant being like, I'm not going to be looked at as some like old rag that can't be used. I have power and many years ahead of me. She has expanded consciousness. Ultimately, it's the melting pot. You're one of many in the eyes of consciousness. Looking through your particularity is beautiful. You are here to live a fierce life of individuality, and doing that. Living life is not easy, but we all do it. We make it look easy. In the sense, we're being. Being is not hard, but making it look easy. You see my point. Expand your consciousness, though. Rise to the occasion and find the justice and truth for you. It might look different from everybody else. Don't sweat that. So let's go ahead and play some music. We've got Justice with the Crown. That sounds like a weird horror movie title or book title. Justice with the Crown. Whoa. Well, that's a ding. Reap what you sow. If you don't lift your guitar high enough, it'll hit the bed. So, gotta be careful. I actually hate playing in this coat, so I'm going to take off my coat. Even though it's colder, it's way less comfortable, and I feel like distant. So, Justice card with the Crone, shall we? hopefully as we age we don't become bitter and unbalanced, but aging happens, and actually there's a beauty and a need for that season of life, the crone, right? But we want to be doing it in a balanced, harmonized way, that which looks different for everybody. Hit me up for a reading if you want to know kind of what the harmony of your ideal kind of manifestation in this Tao incarnation looks like. People love it. I love giving it readings like that. But yeah, justice is, in a weird way, this is the word, all is in harmony. Nothing's out of balance. But we're constantly trying to readjust for the like whack-a-moling parts that we perceive as out of balance. And sometimes we have to be very fiercely independent within the context of community, within the context of a world that's us as well as it. It's a paradox. I know it's very hard. Individualism within non-individualism, melting pot, right? Wow. Weirdness, I know. Fierce tenacity, though, leads, be fierce for justice, be fierce for individuality, be fierce for collectivism, right? Be fierce for it all. Live a life full of life, not death, not stillness. Although we need stillness, right? So making it look easy is hard. All this paradox, how to surf it, making it look easy is hard. Expand your consciousness, realize you're more than your thoughts, you're more than your emotions, you're more than your beliefs, you're more than your culture, you're more than your habits, you're more than your hopes, you're more than your fears. Enjoy the ride and love one another. Check out the podcast. Been having some great episodes. Hit me up for a reading if you'd like. And also just enjoy your Tears Day. It's not surprising. This is very Tear, right? Fierceness. And she's very kind of independent. Warrior. Be a warrior. Be a warrior of truth. And not just opinions or emotions or guilt or facts or whatever, right? It's like be a warrior of completion and you will be applauded from on high, trust me, and from below, however you want to look at it. Enjoy your beautiful day, and I'll catch you on the flip side.